Bring this meeting to order. Treasurer, take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozen?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This is the part of the meeting, at every meeting, we talk about our district goals. We have 3 of them. The first goal is student achievement. That's the overarching goal that we have. That's our mission. That's what we do. And we have a very detailed 2020 plan that we use to drive student achievement. And we work at that, and every decision we make is based on that. We weighed against that is financial prudence. So we try to maximize every taxpayer dollar that we get so that we can optimize student achievement, but yet at the same time being respectful of the money that we get from the taxpayers. Because we're blessed that we have supportive taxpayers, and as we work through that, and we just try to maximize every dollar they provide us, and we're blessed for every dollar that we get. The third goal is community engagement. And we use our community to a large extent to help fill in the gaps. So we've got the PTA program that's incredible, but we have a lot of committees as well. We have a facilities committee that's inclusive of taxpayers. It's the taxpayers' assets, so they should decide how the money's spent and how we maintain those assets. So we looked at some of those individuals who have a very wide array of talents, and they provide that. We do the same thing on the finance committee. We have community members in there who have incredible skills in different areas. Some are in the insurance area, some are in real estate, some are in the food service business, health and benefits side. So we've got a team there that goes through, and once a quarter we meet with them and we provide them with financial information. They go through it and they give us suggestions. They're all business owners. So they tell us what they would do, and they give us some great advice. So we go through that. We have another meeting. We have a business advisory group that just met last week. There's 10 people, I think, or so on that committee, and we meet and we discuss how do we make sure that every student is ready when they leave here. And this time we talked a lot about how do we make sure that every student who's not going to go off to college isn't what's the best thing, or they've chosen that's not what they're going to do. How do we make sure that they're ready? How do they have the soft skills to interview, to communicate, to write in a business format? Can they make a resume? So we met with people, and we're working on a plan that's going to work through, starting identifying in the sophomore year, going to your junior year, you'll start doing. By the time you're a senior, you're ready to interview and look for a job when you get out of school. And if that's your choice, we want to make sure that's our job too, because we've got all different types of students to educate. So those 3 goals are what drive everything we do in here. And it's important. We take it very seriously, and that's what we do. So next on the agenda after that would be recognition. I don't believe.
No, we do not have any recognitions tonight.
Okay. So then we have the superintendent's report to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I'm going to go to the board to present. Hopefully we've got the mic. Oh, it is working, so everybody can hear me.
Before you start, Cameron,
Yes.
It's great to see everybody here today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's important that everybody shows up. We love the enthusiasm. We like the interest. We like everybody paying attention. We like everybody getting their information from here, right? So there's a lot of rumors out there. There's a lot of information that's not factual. It's either emotional or just plain right inaccurate. And we're here to make sure that you get the information correctly. In fact, today, if you go to our webpage, on the right-hand side, on the main page, if you go down, click on an area that's for the levy. There's 2 areas in there. Neither one have been really populated yet, but the one will be Cameron's presentations will soon be loaded on there so that you can go back there and look at it. There's another really cool one. It's called Rumor Has It. It's kind of like our own internal Snoops page, only with real facts. So you'll be able to say, somebody said the school budget's $100 million. And we're like, no, the operating revenue budget on the operating fund is about $70 million, and here's how it's spent. Or somebody said, these other crazy things. You guys really have you really have $50 million in cash. It's like, well, that's not true either. So here's how it works its way down. So you can post a question that you heard. You go to some of these websites that people put this crazy stuff out, and they just like to churn. They sit around in their basement in their underwear, and they type stuff in and send this stuff out. And you know, if you see something that doesn't seem to make sense, if you see something that contradicts what you hear up here or what you're seeing in levy material, go to that page, click on it. It's real easy. You say, what did you hear? You click on the button, what did you hear? You just put in your question. We do not keep track of who put the question in there, but we will answer it. And so then you go back to that website and you look for it. In a couple of days, we will answer the questions. So that way we're hoping to dispel some of the misinformation that was out last time that just wasn't right. And so we want to make sure that we can address that anywhere. You hear something crazy? Go to that webpage, put it in. We'll post it, go back and look. You can read other people's concerns. But I think that's going to be really helpful this time. And just thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. So, Cameron, go ahead, sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Naso, and I'm thrilled to see so many staff members and community members here, and we're passionate about this district. I love this district. I've spent most of my career in this district, and we're at a crossroads with where we're going as a future of a district, and I know some of you can't see the slide, but what the bottom part says is what quality of school district do we want for the children of Strongsville? And that's really the essential question that we need to answer as a community and as a school district, because at that crossroads, we have two very different paths that we can go down. And now, before I start, as Mr. Naso said, just to share, there's going to be a lot of information shared, a lot that will be spoken verbally, a lot that are on the slides. If you're a parent or a community member on our newsletter, I will be sending this out to you tomorrow. It will be on our website as well. If you're not in our email group, and to all of our staff, we'll be sharing all of the details, not only of the presentation, but of every single reduction that we're going to go over in Phase 2 and Phase 3. So just to start off, why are we here? Why are we at this crossroads? This is a snapshot of our 5-year forecast, and this is why we're here. We are deficit spending. This line right here, this is our current year in fiscal year 2009. We are projected to deficit spend in every single year of our forecast, starting with this year at the tune of $3.4 million. As a homeowner, as a business, as an organization, you cannot continue to financially live if you're spending more money than you're bringing in. Now, the reality and how schools are funded in the state of Ohio is that our revenue is relatively flat. So even though we see home goods is going in and other businesses are coming into Strongsville, or some cluster homes or homes are being built, yes, we do see some tax revenue increase from that, but it's not significantly going to impact our overall budget. But what do we all see in our homes and our personal lives or where we work is expenses are going up. And so what this means for us is we have worked to be financially prudent. We did not wait until 2019 to say, how are we going to address this budget? We've been, for the past 11 years, how can we be as financially prudent as possible? How can we make that 2007 levy last as long as possible? And we've made proactive reductions that we've shared time and time again. But what we can see is there are no more proactive reductions that we can do that will not significantly impact the services, resources, programs, or support that we're able to give to our students, and that's what we're all here for. We're here to provide the support and the education, the experiences that our students need to be successful. So as you look at this, this is our ending cash balance, and we're projected to end with $26 million of cash this school year. But when you're deficit spending by the tune of $3 to $5 to $7 to $9 million a year, that cash balance is quickly taken away, and fiscal year 23, which is the 2022-23 school year, our cash balance is gone. We're in a negative spending. We cannot financially go on as a school district, and there's all sorts of state-mandated issues that go into effect if we can't balance our budget before we get close to that year. So in the state of Ohio, there's only two options. The two options are generate new operating funds through an operating levy and reduce expenses. And what we're going to share with you tonight is how we're doing both in tandem to make sure that the financial future of Strongsville City Schools is strong. So to increase revenue, the options in the state of Ohio are to increase tax revenue to school districts. The most popular being a property tax, and as you know, we had a levy on the ballot in November that failed. And we had focus groups, and we listened to our community, and we listened to our parents, and we heard clear feedback. So what do we have in May? We have a 5-year limited levy. We moved from continuous or permanent to limited. We also heard that the millage rate was too high. We need to do the same or more with less. So we reduced the millage rate to 7.9 mils, which means on an annual basis, we're going to collect, instead of $11.3 million, $9.3 million. That's why we made proactive reductions, and reductions in Phase 1 is to reduce $1.1 million of our budget to address that gap. So what that means per $100,000 of valuation, this levy is going to cost $17.21 per $100,000 of valuation. The average home in Strongsville is around $200,000. So if you look at $200,000 on an annual rate, the average taxpayer in the city of Strongsville is going to pay $413. Now this is where I take a pause from the presentation and give kind of a public service announcement of how you calculate the tax rate for your home. So first, it's important that we all understand the ballot language. The ballot language on the ballot in May is going to say this: an additional tax for the benefit of Strongsville City School District for the purpose of current expenses at the rate not exceeding 5.9 mils for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 59 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, commencing in 2019, first due in the calendar year of 2020. Now, I sent out some communications last time because if you read this, 59 cents for each $100 of valuation, and you do the math, your tax bill seems really large. But you have to remember, and first of all, is that there's a difference between market value and the county valuation. So this is what this box is saying right here. Now, if you go to Zillow and you look at your house may say, on the market, I can get $230,000 for my house. Your tax bill is not based on your market value. You need to ignore that number. What you need to do is go to the Cuyahoga County My Place website. That's a link there if you need it when we send the presentation out. You go there, put your address in. It will tell you the exact valuation from the county. That is what your tax bill is generated from. So if you go there and it says your house is $200,000, here's the first part that we all need to know as taxpayers. We only pay taxes on 35% of our valuation. So we've got to take that $200,000 and multiply it by 35%, and you see our total taxable value is $70,000. Then we get into this sentence right here. Per $100 of valuation, I need to divide 70,000 by 100, and I get to $700. Then I have to add in that 59 cents for each one of those $100 valuations, so I multiply by 59 cents, and you can see that it's $413 per year for a $200,000 valuation. The way they write, this is law, this is not Strongsville City Schools, this is the law of how they say we have to put these things on the ballot. It can be confusing. County valuation is what you're taxed at 35%, and you can follow that calculation to find your exact tax bill. So the opposite side of that formula of obtaining new operating dollars is also to look at reducing expenses, and we've done that. Over the past months, we've looked at in years, how can we reduce expenses proactively? And now that we're at the point where there's no more proactive reductions that we could do, we've implemented phase one reductions, which we shared at last board meeting, that are going to go into effect regardless of a future school levy. What we've also done and what we're going to share today is cost reductions in phase two and phase three that will go into effect based on how levies are either passed or failed by the community moving forward. And so that phase one reductions is $1.1 million in savings. And as we went through at last meeting, it comes from student extracurriculars, opportunities, resources, services, and supports, and staffing. And it saves $1.1 million roughly. And what that means is there'll be 3 extracurricular opportunities that'll no longer be available next year. 3.4 teachers that will be reduced. Now, when you say 0.4 teacher, that means taking a teacher from full-time to part-time. 6 support staff members, no administration and leadership, and we've looked at 40 employees and reduced their contracted days or hours that they work, and that's how we generated that $1.1 million.
And that reduction in hours is essentially a cut in pay, right? So before you were getting paid for a certain number of days at your daily rate, now you're going to get paid for less days at your daily rate. So all those people will be impacted by making less money. So I mean that's a hardship, right?
There is.
Every one of those items is a hardship, right? But just to equate that to, they don't get to go home earlier, they get paid less.
So there's 10 employees in that group that were reduced by 45 days. That's 17% of their pay.
Yep.
And so if we look at that and we remember our cash balance in this final year was a negative, it was a negative $7.1-ish million deficit. If we implement phase one reductions and do not do anything else, this is our cash balance. And you can see it does not change our future cash balance. It reduces a little bit of the 2023 negative, but we're in the same financial point that we are right now, even with those $1.1 million in reductions. So we need to look at what we need to do to further reduce costs, because we have two clear paths. And really, the future of our school district is up to the community. It is the community's school district. It's their power to decide what type of school district and what quality of school district do we want for the children of Strongsville. And we've got one pathway, and that pathway is passing a May 2019 levy. And if that passes, the phase one reductions are the only reductions that go into place. Phase two doesn't go into place, and phase three does not go into effect. However, if we're unsuccessful in May of 2019 and the levy fails, we will implement phase two with the start of the 2019-2020 school year. So if the levy passes in May, what does our financial outlook look like? With the phase one reductions, the $1.1 million in reductions, plus a $5.9 mil levy passed in May, you will see that the negative numbers starting in 23 become positive. This levy will generate 5 years of financial stability for the school district. 5 more years of financial stability. 5 years gets us to the 2026-27 school year. No more reductions, the quality of education that our students deserve and our community expects, and we can have financial stability moving on into the future. Now, if the levy fails, we have to put more reductions in. And the reductions in phase two will result in $3.2 million in additional cuts. And so as we look at this, and we look at these categories, please bear with me because I'm going to read to you. I think it's important that you know all aspects of what's going to be reduced. I'm going to read to you exactly what is going to be reduced in each item. And again, I will put this on the website and I will send this out so everybody can look at it. When we take a look at phase two for student extracurriculars, we will reduce elementary extracurriculars, which means no student council. I will reduce SMS, the middle school extracurriculars, that would be a detention curricular or detention supplemental and no student council. At the high school, we would reduce stagecrafts, newspaper, musical director, drama director, detention, student council, musical choreographer, musical pit director, musical vocal director, pep club band, freshman and sophomore class advisors, 2 faculty managers, key club advisor, 3 weight room supervisors, and a marching band assistant. At the middle school, we will reduce a volleyball team, a boys basketball team, and girls basketball team at the 7th grade level. So we will have one of those teams at the 7th grade level. We will reduce in a high school assistant football coach, and we will increase pay to participate by $50 per sport, so that would equal $150 for middle school, $250 for high school, with a family cap of $750. Under student opportunities, we'll increase preschool tuition by $10 a month for $150 a month total. We will reduce all district-provided field trips for kindergarten, 4th grade, 5th grade. We'll reduce all marching band trips, show choir competitions, and any other club or group at the high school that travels for competitions will no longer be provided school-provided transportation. At middle school, we'll reduce 1 class section of choir, our world language course, and class sections of family consumer science. At the high school, we'll eliminate the Air Force JROTC program. Under student resources, there will be an indefinite delay of technology purchases, including kiosks for makerspace sales, smart software updates, bandwidth and firewall upgrades, iPads for special education classrooms, Turnitin.com, GradeCam license, and Chromebook replacements for end-of-life Chromebooks will no longer occur. We will also reduce the Media Center information online resources. In the curriculum department, we will indefinitely delay the purchase of the 2020-21 textbooks, instructional supplies from that budget, curriculum-provided software subscriptions that include Math Excel, News ELA, and Kia, as well as the elimination of supplemental resources provided by the district that will now be added to student fees. We will also reduce student services purchases for curricular and student resources. Under student services and supports, we will increase our instrument rental fee for our students that use school-owned instruments from $30 to $50. That will be a $20 per student increase for the year. We will reduce substitutes for kindergarten readiness assessment testing and eliminate the summer kindergarten screening program. At the elementary level, we will reduce an intervention specialist at Chapman and Whitney. At the middle school, we will reduce a mild moderate special education aide and an entire 7th grade core team. At the high school, we will reduce an intervention specialist, the corrective learning position. We will eliminate all English and mathematics intervention courses. We will increase class minimums at the high school to 20 students for all courses, excluding special education courses, and we will increase the average class sizes to 30 students. At the district level, we will reduce our parent mentor to part-time. We will eliminate a speech-language pathologist position, and we will eliminate the coordinator of audio-visual position, which means we will have no more recordings of district events on local cable or otherwise. Under staff development and staffing, we will reduce district-provided professional development through the general fund. We'll reduce technology and applications and training, including our Muzak software, DocuSign integration, and PowerSchool University. We'll reduce our Rainbow of Friends K-1 disability awareness program. We will implement at the high school a reorganization of our building leadership team structure. At the district level, we will eliminate technology and teacher-based team coaches. We will reduce weekday overtime for custodial and technology staff. An administrative office student services position will be reduced. We will no longer provide auditorium sound crew for use outside of the school day, and we will reduce custodial staffing by 24 hours. In addition, the treasurer, all of our administrators, all of our leadership staff, and I will take a pay freeze. That totals $3.2 million. What that equates to is 29 supplemental contracts will no longer be a part of our district, providing those enhancements to what we're able to do. A minimum of 14.6 teachers will lose their jobs. I say a minimum because at the high school, they're doing scheduling now. When you say you're going to have class minimums of 20, we don't know what that's going to do in staffing or class caps or class averages of 30 until we run the schedule. Support staff, 27 support staff members would lose their jobs. 1.5 administrative and leadership would lose their jobs in addition to a pay freeze. And we have 33 folks that provide coaching services in our district that would no longer provide those services. So if we look at that, if phase 1 and phase 2 are implemented and the levy does not pass, all of those cuts, $1.1 million plus another $3.2 million, gets us one additional year. What we will have to do as a district and what we're able to provide will systematically change overnight, and we will have one more year of financial stability. So as we take a look at if May fails, what does phase 3 look like? And we have the same decision point. There could be a levy. All of this is determined by the board as to when a levy would go on the ballot, but they have two opportunities of November 2019 or May of 2020. If the levy passes, there will be no more reductions beyond phase 1 and phase 2. If the levy does not pass, phase 3 will have to be implemented so we can be financially stable, and those would be implemented in the 2020-21 school year. So if the levy passes in November of 2019, you would see that our financial forecast would change drastically. But I want to caution you about looking at this graphic, because this graphic represents not only levy revenue that is put into our budget, but a district that is a semblance of what it was before. Yes, we are financially stable, but if you replay back in your mind all of the cuts, all of the reductions, all of the services, programs, and supports, and enhancements of what makes our district special and unique and important to the kids of our community, those will be gone. If the levy still doesn't pass, that means we have to put in additional cuts, which total a little over $5 million. So as we take a look at those reductions would be for the board and community that we would eliminate payment for board meetings to board members, and we would close our buildings after school hours, and they would not be able to be used by school-affiliated groups or outside community groups. In terms of student and extracurriculars, we would reduce middle school extracurriculars of the athletic coordinator, all instrumental directors, all vocal directors, and all orchestra directors supplemental contracts. What this means is there's no more musical performances outside of the school day. At the high school, we would reduce the band director, supplemental choir director, show choir choreographer, orchestra director, flag crew, another assistant marching band supplemental, and 3 faculty managers. We would reduce all remaining 7th and 8th grade athletic teams having no sports at the middle school. And we would reduce all freshman athletic teams at the high school. Under student opportunities, we would, at the elementary level, we would eliminate elementary 5th grade band and orchestra, and we would eliminate elementary gifted intervention specialists, which mean there would no longer be gifted services provided at the elementary level. At the middle school, we would eliminate 8th grade technology electives, the art music production course, wellness courses, and art courses at the middle school. At the high school, we would eliminate the Geometry 1.5 course, pre-medical health and sports management courses, AP computer science courses, and we would eliminate one world language. We would eliminate either Spanish, either French, or either German as a holistic decision. We would also reduce health PE courses. We would reduce on-campus College Credit Plus courses. So right now we offer College Credit Plus at Strongsville High School. That would no longer be offered. And we would change our world history requirement from 1 full credit to a half a credit, which would allow us to reduce additional staff. In terms of student resources, we would delay the textbook adoption for the 21-22 school year, and we would eliminate the one-to-one technology program at the high school and go back to Chromebook carts. For student services and supports, at the elementary level, we would increase elementary class caps for 2nd and 3rd grades up to 30, and we reduce a Title I teacher, a guidance counselor, and all literacy coaches. At the middle school, we would reduce an intervention specialist, a guidance counselor, a 6th grade core team, and an 8th grade core team. At the high school, we would eliminate the high school Mustang Cafe and a reduction of the secondary literacy coach. At the district level, we would reduce an English language learner teacher, 2 media specialists, and a special education coordinator. For transportation, we would eliminate all SHS busing. Now, I think I missed busing on the phase 2, I think. So let me go back. In the phase 2, there were transportation reductions that I missed when I was reading the list. For the high school, in phase 2, we would eliminate busing for all juniors and seniors. And busing for sophomores and freshmen would go to zone busing. We would also reduce at the middle school busing from the 1 mile limit to the 1.5 mile limit. And that would hold true for parochial schools. Whatever we provide to our public school students is replicated for our parochial school students, so our parochial school transportation services would reduce the same. Now going back to phase 3, for the high school, we would completely eliminate high school busing in phase 3. We would increase transportation distance for the middle school from 1.5 miles to 2 miles. And at the elementary level, we would increase transportation distance from 1 mile to 1.5 miles. And finally, for staff development and staffing at high school, we would reduce 2 office support positions in the student services office. And at the district level, we would eliminate all professional development. We would reduce culture index hiring screener. The treasurer's office would be reduced a position. An executive secretary position would be reduced. An audiovisual or technology assistant position would be reduced. A mechanic position would be reduced. The assistant supervisor of transportation would be reduced. A maintenance position would be reduced. And custodial staffing would be reduced by 20 hours. So if you take a look at that all together, that would be 53 extracurricular opportunities that would be reduced, a minimum of 37 additional teachers, a minimum of 43.5 additional support staff, and 3 administrative and leadership positions. Now, it's important to note that these are not compounding phases. These are separate and distinct phases. So when I say that phase 1 saves $1.1 million, that is a different $1.1 million than what is saved in phase 2. That's a new $3.2 million. This is a new $5 million. These are 37 new people that will lose their job, not including the ones that would have lost their job in phase 2 and those that have already lost their job because of phase 1. And so if we take a look at only implementing, a levy doesn't pass, and only implementing phase 1, 2, and 3 reductions, you will see from our original forecast, we can reduce our budget, in rough math, almost $10 million a year, and it only gets us 3 additional years of financial stability, and our district is the shell of what it is right now. And so the question for all of us in the community and our parents is, what quality of school district do we want for the children in Strongsville? And as we talked about, For the average taxpayer in Strongsville, it's a $35 a month investment. A $35 a month investment into the children of this district. Whether you have children in our district, whether you're a community, we have a moral responsibility to provide a high quality education for our students so they can have the opportunities in the future and reach the paths and their goals that they have that we did when we were their age. And so for $35 a month, you can preserve student safety by keeping elementary, middle school, and high school busing at the 1 mile limit.
This chart, just to interrupt for a second, this chart, when people say, if I vote yes, what do I get? This is what you get. This is what you get when you vote yes. This is what you get when the levy passes. This is what you lose when the levy fails. So this is black and white. This is the chart. This is the killer chart at the end. This is the one that tells you exactly what you get or you don't get, right? So this is what you're going to buy. This is what we're asking people to buy and provide. So go ahead.
And so as we take a look at the student safety with the busing and making sure that our teachers and our students have relevant textbooks and technologies to keep our kids competitive, we need to continue to have a comprehensive courses that have students learning. When we talk about all these course reductions, the part that I didn't say explicitly is, where do the kids go? The kids go and sit in study halls. And is that what we want for our students? Do we want them actively engaged in their learning and exploring their interests and collaborating with others, or do we want them sitting in study halls? Do we want desirable class sizes from the elementary to middle school to high school? I want to be clear that everybody heard that I said in phase 2, we will reduce a full 7th grade team. That means what is 4 teams will go down to 3. That means we have more students in every single class. The following year, we would reduce an entire 6th grade team and an entire 8th grade team. That will fundamentally change the quality of education that our students are going to get at the middle school. And as we take a look at, you may also notice that I did not say, except for one course, that we're eliminating AP or honors or this course or that course. We will eliminate courses based on student enrollment. If students do not get 20 or more in a class, we will not offer it no matter what class it is. And unfortunately, trying to save costs, we will have to put more kids in the classroom than we do now. We will no longer be able to provide to our highest achieving students that need differentiated instruction and gifted services starting in 3rd grade. That will no longer be able to be provided, nor can we keep our kids on our campus, taking College Credit Plus, having the benefit that is paid through tax dollars because there is a cost to College Credit Plus, but giving the students the ability to stay on our campus, stay in Strongsville, earn college credit so they can go to college with freshman year or even more paid for. That we can have student clubs. School is not just about the experiences you get in an 8 period a day or from 9 to 3:30. It's about all of those extras that go on to make a high quality education, whether it be the pep band, whether it be marching band trips, whether it be the Model UN going somewhere. We need to preserve those clubs such as student council, school newspaper, pep band, keep club, music concerts, plays, and musicals that gives our kids creative outlets to explore their talents. We need to make sure, not only with the music, not only with the clubs, that we have competitive athletic teams in our district, and eliminating 7th and 8th grade and 9th grade sports. Even eliminating what I did in phase 1 of 3 teams is not where we need to go as a district. It's where we have to go based on our current financial situation, but we need to preserve our athletics, and we need to keep our pay-to-participate fees at their current rate. We need to make sure, as we talked about, that our show choir, our marching band, our orchestra, our student competitions can continue to travel and have those experiences and show the phenomenal music program that we have in our district and our community. We need to make sure that our schools are open to our community. They're your schools, and you need to be able to use them, whether it's for PTA functions, school-affiliated functions, or community groups. And we need to preserve our staffing levels. We have made tremendous improvements as a school district. We have made tremendous growth academically, in the arts, and athletics, and what we do to help provide the supports for all that our kids need, social, emotionally, creatively, and beyond. We're not going to be able to achieve that goal and that shared goal if we're talking about tearing down our district instead of building and growing it. How can we provide the opportunities our students need when we're reducing staff at the level of 15% or more? 115 coaching club or support positions, 127 teaching support staff and administrative positions. So I believe our kids deserve a positive future. They deserve a bright outlook. But the community has to decide what they want Strongsville City Schools to look like and what our future will be. So as we go on and we talk and we look at where we're going in the next few months and lead up to the May 2019 levy. There's a lot of stories we can tell ourselves about where we're going or where we've been as a district. But our past should not define our present, and it sure should not create the future that we need for our students. So as we take a look at what quality of school district do we want for the children of Strongsville, it is for this community and the parents to decide what that will look like. And as a board and as an administrative team and a staff, we only have two options. Either generate that additional revenue that is given to us and blessed to us by the taxpayers of this community, or cut the district $8 million and reduce what we're able to provide to our students. So with that, Mr. Naso, that concludes my presentation on the phase 2 and 3 cuts. If there's any discussion or questions from the board, I'll answer those at this time.
All right, I'd like to say nice job, but that was awful. So
I have a comment.
You did a fine job of laying it out there. It really is, you know, it's a decision that we have to make. And everyone in this room, I could see your faces after going through those things, and it's devastating, right? It's awful. So anybody who's in this room, before you leave, Dan Fouts is going to collect your names and your phone numbers and your email addresses, and we're going to ask you all to help us. We need you all to be part of the machine that gets this levy passed, right? Because we can't accept what we're going to see and what we're left with if this doesn't work. So make sure, Dan, where are you? Raise your hand. Good thing, yeah, he's blocking the door because nobody's going to leave without giving us their names. And we're going to get that done. But we have to. The other thing we have to do is we need to spread the word from here, right? So we have to talk about it. And if you're talking to somebody and somebody tells you, well, I'm voting no because, you know, they bring up some incident or some story from 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 20 years ago, you know, you got to say, you know what? There's kids today that need this. There's kids here now that need your help. That we need to have this district where it is. We've worked too darn hard to get it where we are, and we have to do that. We have to get it done. And so don't tolerate it if you're in the grocery store. Don't tolerate it if you're at the gym. Ask them. I'm asking people every day, I need you. I need you to vote for the levy. And they say, well, you know, 10 years ago there was this thing, and it was like, get over it, man. You know, you're going to punish these kids of today for something that happened a long time ago. You're going to punish this because a teacher didn't get back to you when you asked them a question, or some school board member insulted you, or whatever that thing might be. You know, it's like, get over it. There's bigger issues. There's little kids out here. I see them right there. You know, they're not so little. Those two boys right there are pretty big. I know they are, but they're giant men there. And there's a lot of kids in this audience, and we need them, and we need to stand up for those kids and make sure that we get this done. So don't tolerate it. Don't tolerate it anywhere. And just work it through, point them to us. We'll answer their questions. We'll go to their homes. We'll do whatever we have to do to get it done. So George, go ahead. You had a comment?
Yeah, yesterday I had the opportunity to go to Ann Roth's Ward 2 discussion. It was in Chamber Commerce, in Chamber, in the rooms. And one gentleman's here, which thank you for coming. It was interesting because we were talking about the school district a little bit. We were talking about the levy. We were talking about green space. We were talking about the buildings that we took down and how we moved buildings into buildings, right? You're sitting at the old Zellers Elementary building. And the reason why this building is an admin building is because we're saving this building. What if the population of this community moves up? What if we need another elementary building, right? So we're saving this building. But he lent a story which I think is very, very important for everybody to understand and very listen to. He moved into Strongsville in 1984, and his next door neighbor was 80 years old. And he went over to say hello to him and meet him and have a beer with him, right? And his comment to this gentleman was, listen, when I'm dead and gone, you're not gonna have another 80-year-old buying my house. You're gonna have someone who's 25 years old with 3 kids wanting to move into this community. And not so much because of the civil services or the great police force and those things. Don't be wrong, those are very important. It's because of the schools. It's because of what you want your children to be educated with and by whom. It's simple supply and demand. If anybody's taken a Business 101 course, it's supply and demand. If you notice that houses in Strongsville, when they go on the market, they're gone within 60 days. Because people revere what we do within our buildings. It's simple supply and demand. We need to work hard for the children of this community. We need to work hard to keep these kids in our buildings and not strip and rip away all the opportunities. To take away College Credit Plus, I mean, we have children going into college as sophomores, and they're 18 years old. Where else are you going to get that? Where else are you going to have that opportunity other than Strongsville? That's what we need to protect. That's what we need to preserve. I don't like phase 2 cuts. I really don't like phase 3 cuts. So I'm asking and I'm begging, please have a conversation with your neighbors. Have just the communication between your neighbors of saying why this levy is so important. Because if we don't create the supply and demand of wanting younger families moving into this community, I'll guarantee you your property values are going to plummet. And we heard that 2 weeks ago, and it's the reality. So please, consider helping us. Please consider volunteering and helping us with this levy, because our children deserve what we have. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. With that, that'll bring us to public comment. We have 6 public comments, so we're gonna try to keep these to 2 to 3 minutes. 2 minutes is best. Try to go through it. Try not to, or don't, use names or name people or students or teachers or whatever. This is not a discussion. We're here to hear your comments. You're gonna come up, you're gonna state your name, your address, where you live, and then you're gonna talk on your topic. We're gonna take notes. If we feel there's something we need to get back to you on, we will, but we're not gonna engage in some debate up here. That's not the purpose of this. This is a meeting held in public, not a public meeting. So with that, we'll go on. We have 6, so we're gonna try to move through them, right? So first one, Tracy Joniak.
Good evening, I'm Tracy Joniak, 12311 Cooper's Run. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Dr. Ryba, I know coming up with these cuts cannot be easy. I'm sure it's extremely difficult, and I thank you for your time and effort on this issue. According to the Phase 1 cuts, 3 music department educators have been reduced in force. This leaves 6 instrumental music directors overseeing 800 children, a staff ratio of 1 to 133. Meanwhile, there are classes at the middle school with 6 students enrolled being taught daily. We have an ROTC program with 2 teachers and 35 children. Physical education departments have classes with half capacity. We have classes that are twice the length of state requirements at the high school. And most glaringly, the boys varsity football squad alone has 11 part-time coaches overseeing 60 children. Now, I know supplemental contracts cost the district a fraction of the money that a full-time music teacher does. But it's about the optics here. The optics right now say that this is a district that does not prioritize its award-winning musical program. It looks and feels like the district is balancing the budget on the back of the band and the orchestra kids. Our music directors serve our children on their own time without being prompted. They stay in late, they come in early, and they work through their lunches. They help kids rehearse for solo and ensemble. They accompany kids not even enrolled in their courses. They sit in ensembles encourage and guide music selection, and help our kids grow as musicians and as people. They spend their weekends at OMEA honors contests, jazz festivals, and countless other performances. One of the teachers who received a RIF notice actually even traveled to the Worcester Music Camp last summer with her newborn to watch my child perform. If that doesn't show you how invested she is in his success, then I don't know what does. I urge you to reconsider the Phase 1 cuts in staffing to our nationally recognized music program. I implore you to consider other options which share these devastating impacts of these cost reductions more equitably across students and departments, and do not just chip away at the foundation of one of our district's most successful programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Ferguson? State your name, address.
Hi,
Thanks.
Kevin Ferguson, 20564 Pembroke Oval. So my questions, first of all, I wanted to thank you for clearly explaining the cuts, and I understand these are very difficult times, and my questions relate to Phase 2 and Phase 3 cuts, and I really hope that we never get there. I hope that very much, and I'll do everything I can to help support the levy. With regard to Phase 2 and 3 cuts, I understand the comments or with regard to ratios, and that if a class size is less than 20 students, it would be essentially canceled, and that makes sense. I wanted to find out, is the same true of like athletic programs? If there's a particular sport that has less than 20 kids that want to participate, is it going to get cut? And is that going to vary from year to year? And so I'm curious about that. And the other thing I wanted to clarify is with regard to some of the later cuts to the music department, particularly the marching band, very personal passion. If the marching band, it sounded like in Phase 3 would be potentially cut, but I was unclear on that. All after-school programs in performance, it sounded like were cut, but then I was a little unclear because one of the assistant marching band directors was cut, but I didn't hear necessarily that the marching band was cut.
So I can clarify those for you. In terms of the athletic teams, we make those decisions on an annual basis, and our coaching staff has done the same. So there are times where we don't have enough athletes to field a team, and so we don't have those sports. So that's happened in the past, and so that's looked at on an annual basis. It's not each sport is different, so it's not like a 20s, there's not a specific limit, but if we don't have enough to compete, maybe there's not a freshman team, or maybe we just have a varsity team, whatever the case may be. In terms of the cuts for the marching band, there are a lot of, as you know, as I see the button of your daughter on your chest, there's a lot of people that are needed, of paid employees and volunteers such as yourself, to make the marching band program work. Marching band, as we take a look at Phase 3, all of the supplementals that go around marching band would be reduced. So that would mean that there would likely not be a marching band. It would just be a concert band course if we got to that point. It also means that, all of our music performance courses would still go on, but there would just be no concerts. So we understand how devastating that is, but as we look at all costs, those are things we have to consider.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
Thank you. Danielle Stevenson? Just to note, we have 6 comments. The first 3 are all levy or cut related, and the other on our other topics, so.
Danielle Stevenson, 16871 Woodleaf Road. I'm actually just up here more to make a comment about the levy based on the cuts. I know these cuts were extremely difficult to make, and I know that at this point they're not changeable. So I guess I just asking everyone in the room to volunteer to get this levy passed, because at this point, it sucks. I mean, that just plain and simple. It made me want to cry when I heard these cuts, thinking about my children and all the missed opportunities and the fact that they are not going to get a good education, and it will affect applying to colleges. So now we have to get it passed. So we have to raise money for a campaign. We have to convince other people. You even have to convince people to actually go out and vote. I mean, it's not a typical election, so people don't think about it. It's a Tuesday and they forget that it's even election day. So I guess I just ask the community to join the committees and help us pass this levy, because I do not want my children going through a school district like this. We moved here from Minneapolis and we chose Strongsville because of the schools. So let's keep them that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina Rodella? I liked your little note at the bottom.
I figured otherwise you wouldn't let me talk.
Oh, everybody talks.
All right, it's been 15 years since I've been up here.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Chris Rodella. My address is 21310 Castlewood Drive. I'm here this evening to inform the board about concerns that continue to escalate in regards to the Spanish program at the high school. A few days ago, I did deliver a detailed letter signed to you, Ms. Reba. I don't know if you've had time to obviously read it yet. I know you've been pretty busy, but I'm sure you will. There's a lot of details in that letter that I won't go through here. But I want to rest assured that I won't talk about anybody and specifically, or even my child. But as you are aware, or you should be, because I know some of you are on Facebook, many parents and students are voicing concerns about Spanish amongst your high school staff. They're on social media in various groups. Strongsville Moms Discuss It, Strongsville High School Supportive Parents, and now the Strongsville Middle School. They're telling students not to take Spanish. Most recently, posts are reaching out to my middle school student, alerting 8th graders to avoid Spanish. I've personally heard the same message from parents during conversations at a high school sporting event. A random discussion with a student that was checking me out at a local grocery store gave me the same warning. All right, this message follows the same pattern, and it's not a normal pattern. It's not the teachers are hard or the class gets a lot of homework. It really needs to be investigated, why these kids don't want to take Spanish. Okay, I'm ultimately present today as a response to my son's request, because I'm showing him that I'm taking this full circle, and the only way you get things done is to come and present yourself and not hide behind Facebook and social media. He said, Mom, why don't they care? Why don't they do something if everyone's complaining? Okay, I told him at this point, it's all hearsay. Posting things on social media does not mean the district even knows about it, and it also doesn't render a response. It doesn't require you guys to do anything. But by me being here, by me sending a letter, it does require you to do something. I also pointed out on social media groups to all the parents, urging them all to write letters. I don't know if you've received any others. I don't know if anyone else is here on those groups, but they know me. I've been on there. I've urged them to come forward. I'll tell you this. Initially, Spanish 1 started out bumpy for us and my son, but now it's smooth sailing. Okay, he may look at it a little bit different, like he was on the Titanic. We hit a freaking iceberg, okay? There was boats, there was life rings. He learned to swim. We're good now, okay? There's a lot of good in that program. And there are some great teachers in that program. So quite frankly, it's not fair that the staff is working hard, but that, social media is bashing the program, okay? So before you lose Spanish to low enrollment, and no, I didn't know about any of this, but I urge you to get involved. I'm asking Mr. Ryba to look at the curriculum, find out why students are dropping, what are the opportunities for improvement, and I believe Strongsville High School provides many opportunities for students. I'm a 1992 graduate. I'm also a proud Marching Mustang, 1992, Batmobile. I mean, it's so sad to see this, and my daughter's on her way up, so I support the levy. So I really think Spanish should be part of it for years to come. I really hope that we don't get to phase 3 and you have to make a hard decision, but I really hope that you guys can look into why that would be posted like that on social media. Thank you.
Chris? If you would, could you stay for after the meeting? I'd like to have a conversation with you about
Sure,
it.
sure will.
Thank you.
Michelle Bissell?
Hi, my name is Michelle Bissell. My address is 21611 Fairfield Place. I have 4 sons. I have a 3rd grader and a 1st grader at Sarrar Elementary, and then I have one who'll start kindergarten next year. And the youngest is 3. My husband and I have had children in the district for over 3 years, and we have 15 more consecutive years to go. So this matters to me, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm here today to talk about something a little different. I know the levy is really pressing on everyone's mind. And I just want to take a chance to say thank you to the board and Dr. Ryba and the others involved for the kind of communication that's happening at these last several meetings, specifically in releasing the list of proposed cuts. It's the kind of communication that this community has been asking for, and and it's continuing with the addition to the website of opportunity to ask questions. I feel like we're getting the kind of communication now that we've been asking for a while, and I'm so thankful. We might not like what we hear, and I imagine that's the case tonight for most of us, but at least we're hearing it. And I'd also like to hear more. I'd love to know the rationale behind the individual cuts specifically made in phase 1. Why, for example, was $16,500 cut from the athletics, but nearly $100,000 from the music programs? I have ideas about why this is, but it's only speculation. And my concern isn't necessarily the numbers. My concern is that the speculation can lead to rumor and misinformation, as Mr. Naso pointed out earlier tonight. And those speculation and rumors are really dangerous at this time of year with the levy coming. So if it's possible to share that level of detail, I'd really love to hear it. And I'd also like to believe that the more information we're privy to, the more likely we will to make a rational instead of emotional decisions. I think we're seeing a lot of that too. So I'd ask that clear, concise, timely, transparent, and accessible communication be of high priority, especially in this season. And that includes reaching people who are never going to sit in this room for these meetings, and people who are never going to go to the website. No matter what you put on it, they're never going to look at it. So those people need to be of high priority in terms of how we communicate. I also believe that strong communication is the bridge that can bring us closer together. It's very easy to fall into an us-them mentality. There are a whole lot of us tonight in this room, and there's a couple of you. And a lot of us are scared and hurt and angry and confused. And there are several of you there who have more complete information and more power. And the divide can be great. But as Mr. Naso and Dr. Ryba have both pointed out in recent communication, in order to affect change, we have to work together. We have to cross this front section here. We have to do this together. And I'm hopeful for the sake of the kids that by communicating well and especially listening well, that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the last one, Sandy Trudler?
My concern was already addressed, thank you.
Oh, okay,
Thank you, Sandy.
thank you.
Mr. Naso,
Yes, sir.
going on Ms. Bissell's request for further communication, there's a couple points that I'd like to just clarify. And for Ms. Bissell or any community member that wants to have a more in-depth conversation about the reductions or the rationale, I'll make time available to have that conversation. I get a lot of emails, so I would prefer a phone or in person. But I'd be more than happy to share that. But in a global sense, the rationale for phase 1 was how can we reduce costs in little increments in a variety of areas across the district that's not going to severely negatively impact our students. And so I understand that some of the decisions that I made are going to have that impact. So when you take a look at music, although I think all told there were 2.4 staffing reductions in that, that was able to preserve the same courses, the same opportunities, the same experiences our students had this year, they will have next year. I understand that there's going to be one less teacher, and I understand as a former musician the benefit of having those both in. but it was important to me to say, we had 5th through 12th grade choir, band, orchestra this year, we will have it next year. So that was the rationale. And yes, I understand that eliminating 3 middle school sports generates $16,500, but if you look at some of the other cuts, there were a lot of cuts in that $15,000 to $25,000 range that add up to $1.1 million. The other thing that, so that was the overall rationale. The other thing I want to clarify in
There's
terms.
also one other thing on the
Sure.
sports side of it. I mean, someone addressed that the stipends are less than full-time positions. You know, I mean, that's the disparity in the cost. But really, what our focus is, what's the impact on the kids, right? All of this, every one of these cuts directly impacts a kid, right? So when we took out 3 sport teams from the middle school, that's 45 kids, about, who will never get to play the sport that they've played and they've worked, because you know how sports are in Strongsville today. They start working in third and when they're 3 and 4 years old, and they're working their way up, right? And then all of a sudden you get to the 8th grade and there's 3 less teams. Now instead of having 45 kids out there, you know, a volleyball team, a girls basketball team, a boys basketball team, those kids now are cut. They don't have a team to go to. So instead of having 25 kids playing boys basketball in the 8th grade, now you got 10 or 12. So those 12 kids are out. They're done. The chances of them coming back to play the next year has been greatly reduced. They'll go into clubs and they'll do those other things, and some of them will fight their way back, right? And that's kind of what makes them better athletes, right? But it's the opportunity for the children. So I know it looks disparaging in the numbers when you're comparing dollar values, but what we looked at mostly was we had to cut dollars, right? That was the first goal, right? How do you cut dollars? But we really focused on the impact to the children. And we knew that those sports cuts were going to impact, it was only $16,500, but it's going to be 45 kids who aren't going to move on to the next level. When we looked at the music cuts, and these were all, Cameron had detailed, long, lengthy talks with, to come up with these numbers. We still felt that the children, although they'll have one less tutor, and that makes a big difference, right? Because, Cameron's a musician, so he knows the impact when he's doing these things. But at least those classes will still have them. So they'll have the opportunity to play. And then, and then we'll work from there, and we'll just try to, as we find other ways to save money, we'll come up with other plans. Maybe we can add some of the things back, but, at least those programs will be there. At least there'll still be an orchestra, there'll still be a band, and we'll keep moving. So I know it looks disparaging. I know the ratios look when you look at them on the top level. I peeled it back, Cameron peeled it back, we've all peeled it back, and we try to make it stay as to balance the impact to the students so that no one group of students took the brunt of the hit. So, go ahead, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. So the last thing that I wanted to say in terms of music and the statement that was made that we eliminated 3 positions in the music department in phase 1, that is accurate. But what needs to be clarified is 2 of those positions are currently not working for our school district. 2 of the 3 positions currently are not working in our schools. They don't hold an active job in our schools. They're not working with kids this school year in our schools. So there truly is, of teachers that are actively working, there is a reduction of 1 teacher based on the reduction of the co-teaching sections. We have a music teacher right now that's on parental leave. We have another music teacher that's on sabbatical. So yes, we are reducing 3 positions, but we are facilitating a high-quality music program that everybody loves with 2 less teachers. And it's working. And we're seeing the same success. So when we make the comment that we have 3 less teachers, that is true. But the true impact on how many less teachers are going to be actively working on a daily basis in our district this year as compared to next year, it is 1. So I just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Naso.
All right, thank you.
One more comment.
Certainly.
And just in case anybody brings it up, first of all, thanks to everybody that spoke in favor of helping us with the levy. We appreciate all the help we can get. The second thing is the state and the Columbus government. As many of you that have followed this closely know, we've lost a total of $9 million from the state funding and from the loss of tax levy from an organization that went tax exempt within Strongsville. We are also working, I say we, the board, Mr. Ryba, Dr. Ryba, are also working with our representatives, Patton and Dolan, to address this to the state government and say, hey, you know, we're supposed to be getting 40 cents out of every tax dollar coming back to our city. Right now, it's around 20 cents out of every dollar that comes back to our city. So we're trying to work with them to get it into the budget. We don't know how the new governor is going to treat this. I know Governor DeWine seems to have a very keen interest in preschool and making sure that the kids, younger kids, get educational opportunities. Hopefully that will bear over into the higher public education grade levels, and we'll be able to get some relief from the state. But we can't count on that, and that's why it makes doubly important that we take care of our own and that we make sure we pass that levy in May. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. The public comments were all very good. Thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate you all coming out tonight. That brings us to approval of minutes. The rest of this meeting, well, there's some good stuff left in the meeting, but I mean, that's a cue if anybody wants to sneak out right now, you know, before we get into regular business. But so the next, make sure you sign Dan's sheet though on the way out, because you're all coming back to work. Where, Dan? You're in the wrong corner, for gosh sakes.
I'm trying to get there.
That's right. Mr. King will stop them for you.
Hold him, King. Blow your whistle. Okay, so that brings us to approval of minutes. We have the January 10th and January 29th minutes to approve. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? We've all read them. George, take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I have a few items for your consideration tonight. First item, item A, which is the financial report for the month ending December 31st, 2018, which can be found in Exhibit A. Item B, invoice order approval. This is our monthly purchase order for our click charges for ACE for copies and printers. Exceeded the $3,000 threshold, which needs board approval. We had a conversion of our new financial system July 1, so which caused delays in some purchase orders being entered before the invoice came. So that was the unique situation that happened with this one. Items C, D, and E, and F are all related, but I'll go through each one separately. Approval of new fund, which is grant fund at the middle school for what's called a ROCKS program, Ruling Our Experiences. It's an intervention program for middle school age girls, which is led by middle school guidance counselor Katie Gustalo. In item D, she was approved for a $900 grant by the Strongsville Education Foundation from the Walter Ehrenfeld grant. In addition to the grant, she wants to do additional fundraising for the program, so I'm setting her up somewhat as a student activities account, which she had created a student activities budget, which is found in Exhibit B, for a total appropriation of $2,350. And then item F is approving, item F, which is found in Exhibit C, which is approving the amended appropriation measure to include this increase in appropriation for the ROCKS program. And with that, that concludes my report, if there's no other questions.
All right. And you've got, did you cover the amended appropriations?
I did.
Okay.
So the amended appropriations, which is in Exhibit C, the only increase is for the student activities fund for the
Okay.
ROCKS program.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That brings us to superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Nase.
Great item coming up next.
Under timely information, I did want to share with the board and the community that next Wednesday, February 27th, we will have our annual State of the Schools address. We will be at the middle school, again, 6:30 p.m. at Strongsville Middle School in the auditorium. And I look forward to sharing with our school community and our parents and our larger community where we're going as a school district and what we have to look forward to in the future, and where, as we talked about, where our future is at in terms of our future financial status. But I think it'll be a good evening. to hear and to share and to talk about some things that have gone on in our district in the past, to hear from some of our staff and students as to where we're at currently, and to look at the future that we want to create for Strongsville City Schools. So I invite everybody to come to the State of the School address next Wednesday. With that, we do have one item for your consideration, and before I read the motion, I just want to share with the board and the community that a few months ago, the teachers, representatives and I began talking about contract negotiations. We were set to start contract negotiations this month, and taking a look at our current state as a district and looking at reductions, we collaborated and knew it was important for both of us to come together and to look at an agreement that can move us forward together, to be transparent with the community, and to give stability to our district in terms of our teaching staff. With that discussion, what you have before you today is a proposed extension of the current teacher agreement. We worked together. I'm very proud of the fact that the teachers worked without OEA representation at the table last time. We worked without a lawyer representation, and we came together as a school community, and we came to agreement on a fair 3-year contract for our employees. That 3-year contract ends this June. Based on our discussions and the ratification by the teachers and now consideration for the board, this would extend the contract 1 full year. All of the current contract language would remain in effect, with a 1.5% cost of living increase in the extension. I want to talk a little bit about why I think that is important. As you listen to and hear the reductions that I just went through, we are going to lose good people. We are going to lose great teachers, great staff, great administrators, because they have families to take care of and they have things that they need to do to make sure their future is financially stable. And when Jenny went around and sent countless emails yesterday and met with countless staff today to tell them that unfortunately their future is in limbo, they've got to take care of their family, and so we are going to lose great staff. The other thing that I have to protect from and we need to protect from is we need to make sure that our compensation package is competitive in the area so that we don't become a district where teachers come for 1 or 2 or 3 years to get their experience and then leave to go somewhere else where they can be more financially stable. And if you come to the State of the Schools, I will share very clearly and explicitly where our teacher compensation is to area districts and why this 1.5% raise and why their compensation is conservative, is fair, especially for the results that they produce. We have a phenomenal teaching staff. And they have come to the table and said, we want to be transparent with the community. I think this speaks volumes. We are telling you in February so you can decide in May. We are not going to wait till after a levy and then negotiate with the teachers. We came together and said, let's negotiate now, let's extend the contract, let's put it out there for the community so they know exactly what's on the table. 2019-20 school year is settled, and they can be well informed as they vote. If you take a look at cost of living increases that Social Security is going to do coming up, or the inflationary rate, 1.5% is below all of those rates. So I want to thank our teachers for their partnership in this effort to make sure that we retain and keep the best quality teachers that we can for the children of Strongsville, that they're here for the long haul, not just to get a job and experience and leave us. And I think this shows from the board and the administration that there's a mutual commitment, even during these difficult times, that it's important that we keep a contract in place and we're transparent with our voters before an election happens in May. So with that, Mr. Naso, be it resolved upon my recommendation that the Strongsville Board of Education ratifies a 1-year extension agreement with the Strongsville Education Association effective August 1st, 2019 through July 31st, 2020.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Oop, I had that backwards. Excellent. Any further discussion? Okay. Let's take roll.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm proud of what we did today, and I'm proud of the teachers' union. I'm proud of Ian and his group and everybody who came together and put this together so that we'd have transparency in the time that we did. And it's, we balanced it up against, once again, we had to balance student achievement against financial prudence. And, and this is exactly what we did, and it worked. And thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'll ask our operations manager, Steve Breckner, to give the business service report for this month. Steve?
Good evening, everyone. One item on the agenda for tonight, business services, and then some reporting of gifts that were given to the district. The item here that's up
Steve,
for-
you have one before,
Buses.
the
Oh,
buses.
Yeah, that's the one item, and then the gifts.
That's what I,
Okay.
Yep. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Strongsville Board of Education approve participation in the Ohio Schools Council School Bus Cooperative Bidding and Purchasing Program, and authorizes the Ohio Schools Council to advertise and accept bids on said board's behalf as per the specifications submitted for the cooperative purchase of two 72-passenger conventional school bus chassis and bodies and two handicap accessible buses, in quote, in parentheses, they're mini buses, they're also called.
Steve, we are increasing the size of those bus chassis, am I correct?
Correct. Our majority of our fleet right now is 68 passenger, and that is the same that we've been purchasing the 72 to have some larger buses,
Okay.
so we can have more kids per bus.
Okay, thank you.
let's have for the discussion, I guess I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, George. Okay, discussion. So in light of all the changes and everything we've seen, right, so we went back and we pushed back, and we wanted to make sure that these these four buses are necessary, right? Regardless of the outcome of May and November, you're gonna need these buses, correct?
Correct. 10 to 15 years ago, we stopped purchasing buses for a short period of time, which leads us to where we are right now. Between 6 to 9 buses are gonna not be operable for the next school year. So we're down 9 buses because back then, we didn't purchase buses. We've reduced the amount of buses that we're purchasing from the original 5, and that's 5 72-passenger. The only reason the minibuses are on there is because we do have two of the minibuses that are not going to pass state inspection next year. We've already been told. So we are reducing the amount of buses being purchased in light of what's
Okay.
been presented, but we can't shut off the tap because we just hurt ourselves 10 years down the road when also we need to purchase 6 or 7 buses at one time.
And another confusing part to this is that we have two budgets. We have an operating budget that buys books and pays teachers and electricity and food and all those kinds of things. And then there's a separate budget that's a capital budget. And those two funds, you can't commingle those funds, right? So we have a levy that provides a certain amount of capital each year, and that is the money that'll be used for these buses. We certainly could take operating money and buy more buses, but we can't use those dollars that have been set aside for buses for any operating costs. So it's confusing, the way that the accounting's done for schools and the way the regulations in state and all that is very difficult to navigate. But bottom line is those dollars that we're gonna use for these buses could not be used to offset our deficit spending in the operating budget. They're separate dollars, separate pockets. So just to be clear on that. But I want everyone to know that we push back hard on Steve, and like, you're gonna have to prove it to us, right? So he went through a lot of information and a lot of different, analysis, and he came back and he'd reduced his numbers, so, anybody else have any other comments? Richard, Shane? Anybody?
I can just say that the people at our bus garage, those guys are rock stars. They work very, very hard to try to find ways to keep those buses on the road. It's not them, it's the state inspections. And you throw enough salt at a school bus and you keep that bus in the fleet for 10 years, 8 years, whatever it might be, and what you're running into is you're running into the floorboards actually starting to rot away. So you're talking about an unsafe bus to put children on.
None
So-
of them are unsafe right now.
Well,
None of them are unsafe right now.
none of
Or
them
they
are
wouldn't be
unsafe at this
operating.
point, but my point is, they're not gonna pass
Right.
inspection
We have to take them out
this
before
summer.
that ever becomes an issue. So that's
Agreed.
why you have to recycle these buses.
But my point is,
The
those
drop of
guys
Cheerio,
work,
it's still gonna be there.
those guys work really hard. Those guys work really hard at what they do, and it's just the age of the buses.
You might not want to eat it, but it'll be there. Any,
So,
when we want to, any comments, somebody want to let's take roll?
Colonel Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Grosjean?
yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, moving on to the gifts to the district. The Strongsville Wrestling Club donated $7,200 to be used towards the purchase of wrestling mats for Strongsville High School. The Strongsville Athletic Booster Club donated $7,200 to be used towards the purchase of wrestling mats for Strongsville High School. South Park Mall donated $1,000 to the Strongsville High School Music Department in appreciation for student musician participation in the Santa's Arrival event at the mall. Doreen Mitchell donated an HP Design Jet 510 and 3 cartons of paper valued at $731 to the Strongsville City School District Technology Department for use in the Strongsville High School Makerspace in memory of Don Mitchell. Eleanor Ray donated $120 for students in need at Muraski or Whitney Elementary Schools. This donation was a Christmas gift to her son who had attended both schools. Lois, Mike, Nick, Dan, and Kristen Limmer donated $500 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Margaret and Alan Turek donated $10 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Jim and Linda Detmer donated $25 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund in honor of Ken Mihalko. Corrine Jackson donated $100 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Connie and Carl Wazaki donated $100 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Eric and Vicki Lynn donated $100 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. The Strongsville Community Band donated $1,500 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. The Strongsville Instrumental Music Boosters donated $1,001 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Nirmala Imani donated $20 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Ray and Julie Kastner donated $301 to the Strongsville High School Piano Fund. Laura A. Berry donated $15 to the Strongsville High School Planetarium in memory of Robert J. Madsen. And Progressive Insurance donated 25 HP laptops valued at approximately $2,212.50 for use at Muraski Elementary School.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
That's incredible. That's an incredible list.
George, do you have an update on the piano fund, where we're at with all those donations and generous gifts?
Yep, I do. We're at $27,213 in total revenue between last year and this year.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you for the generous community gifts that continue to add to the piano fund. Next, we have Director of Curriculum, Aaron Green, with the report for the month.
Good evening. I have 7 items tonight for your consideration. First item is the Strongsville Middle School Curriculum Guide. This is for the 2019-2020 school year. Item 2 is the Strongsville Middle School Student Planner Handbook for the 1920 school year. Item 3 is for an out-of-state trip for the Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps to go to Parkersburg, West Virginia, to participate in drill competition on February 23rd, 2019. That will be via school bus, and expenses will be paid with proceeds from fundraisers. Item 4, we have an overnight trip for DECA. This is for them to travel to Columbus, Ohio, to participate in the Ohio DECA Career Development Conference, which is March 15th and 16th. Expenses will be paid by participating students, fundraising, and career tech funds. This also allows students who qualify at the state conference to be eligible to attend the national conference in Orlando, Florida, which is April 26th through May 1st. Item 5, we have an out-of-state trip for Strongsville High School boys varsity and junior varsity soccer teams. This will be to Norridge, Illinois, to participate in soccer competition August 31st through September 2nd of 2019. Expenses will be paid with the proceeds from the Adidas National Soccer Showcase. Item 6 is another out-of-state trip, this one for Strongsville High School marching band and orchestras. This is to travel to Orlando, Florida, to perform at selected venues at Walt Disney theme parks, March 20th through the 25th of 2020. Transportation will be via chartered motor coach, expenses paid by participating students and fundraising. And the last item tonight for your consideration is a student-teacher observation field experience, placing a student from Cuyahoga Community College at Strongsville Middle School from March 4th to April 3rd of 2019. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Next up is our Director of Student Services, Andy Trujillo, with his report for the month. Andy?
Good evening, members of the board. I have one item for consideration this evening. It's a settlement resolution from the general fund seen in Exhibit D, and it will require a vote.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke.
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Coming up on live, Richard. You're gonna have to second. I assume everyone here has read the document and everyone's aware of it. It's confidential, so we can't really talk about it, but we do in executive session. So if anybody has any issues or any comments, George, you want to take roll?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next, we have our Assistant Superintendent, Jenny Pelko, with the Human Resource Report.
Thank you, Dr. Riva. Under Human Resources this month, I have the following items for your consideration. Under E1, I have non-certificated resignations. Under E2, appointments for non-certificated staff, appointments for certificated substitutes, appointment for non-certificated substitute, appointments for certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion. Under E3, changes in hours for non-certificated staff. Under E4, fall 2018 athletic tournaments for girls and boys soccer as well as football. Under E5, continuing contract recommendations for non-certificated staff. Under E6, medical leaves for certificated staff and medical leaves for non-certificated staff. Under E7, unpaid medical leave for certificated staff and unpaid medical leaves for non-certificated staff. Under E8, we have volunteers for chaperones and mentors. And finally, under E9, I have the termination of a non-certificated staff member, which does require a vote.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Any discussion? I assume we've all read it. We got Cameron's email about it, so. George, take roll.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And there is no technology report for this month, so that concludes my report.
Richard Polaris.
Polaris, I want to give a few shout outs. The various programs at Polaris went to their annual competitions, and we had quite a few students do well, so I wanted to congratulate them. And some of our Strongsville students who are in the Business Professionals program, Michael Matula, Sebastian Karam, Nate Rajecki, Kevin Wider, Eddie Malavny, and let's make sure I don't miss anyone. Those are some of our Strongsville students who are enrolled at the Polaris program. They've the competitions can be on, office products. It's on accounting. It's on all the different things that you would do as a business professional. And they've done first place, second place, third place, and most, if not all, are going on to the state competitions for those contests. So we're real proud of them, and we extend our congratulations to them. I also want to announce that Polaris is bringing about a new program for the high school. Traditionally, Polaris has always been a 2-year program, junior and senior year. We realize that a lot of times students have to make decisions on the commitment of a 2-year program and the programming at the local high school. So we now have 2 new programs that we're starting for the 2019-2020 school year. Those are going to be 1-year programs that'll be just at a senior level. One will be the state-tested nursing assistant program that students can complete in 1 year and get that certification. And then the other one will be out of the cosmetology program, and it'll be nail technician, but it'll be a 1-year program so that students who can't, for a variety of reasons, make a 2-year commitment now have some options for a 1-year commitment for Polaris. So we're excited about that. And current juniors that are interested or want more information should see their high school counselors. And then I also want to remind our sophomores that we're now in the viewing season, or the looking into Polaris season, and there are going to be Tech Thursdays available for students, February 28th, March 7th, March 14th, and March 21st. And there are opportunities for current sophomores that are interested in a program to spend a half a day at Polaris and actually be embedded in that program and get a real feel for what it would be like to attend that program. And that sophomores at the high school can follow up with their guidance counselor. And that completes my Polaris report.
Legislation?
Legislation, I just wanted to make a couple of general comments. We're going to get a lot of how the state works and works for or against the school districts in the next couple of months. But on the horizon, March 15th is the deadline for Governor DeWine to announce his budget for the next biennium. And then after March 15th, we have until June 30th for the state House of Reps and the state Senate to pass a new budget. But the process starts by the governor bringing out his first budget. And I think everybody in education circles is on pins and needles because they want to see where DeWine is going to prioritize and how he's going to prioritize. So by March 15th, we will have that answer, and then we'll be able to respond to it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. That brings us to board liaison reports. Jane, City Council?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Naso. The City Council meeting was just this past Monday, and 2 items of note on their agenda was an ordinance concerning rezoning of a parcel on Pearl Road across from Sheets. They did put it on a first reading and referred it to Planning Commission, so if anyone is interested in finding out the particulars on that zoning process, I urge you to contact the Planning Commission. And they also put on first reading the adoption of the master plan for 2018. The city has taken considerable efforts to get community involvement and participation. I know I participated in the meetings that they had to get input from everyone in the city to devise a master plan. So it is being digested and it hasn't been released for consumption yet, but that's on the horizon. And we also had a newly appointed fire lieutenant sworn in, so our fire forces are at full capacity once again. So that concludes my city council report.
Thank you. You want to go right into PTA?
Yes, well, we were all at the last PTA meeting. It was the annual Ohio Achievement Awards ceremony for members of our community that give so much of their time and talents to our children in our district. So it was a very rewarding night, and appreciate all of the activities that people do to make our school better. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about PTA Achievement Award night, but
it was a fun night. It's always fun to see all the different awards go out and meet all the different people that are so involved in part of that community engagement side of it, where they're so involved and do so many things. It's a good night.
yeah.
You want to go on to student achievement?
Sure, student achievement. I had the opportunity to sit down with Mrs. Gizzy, a 7th grade social studies teacher at the middle school on the Discoverers team. And Mrs. Gizzy takes great care in making sure all of her students understand some material that might not be that interesting. So it encompasses learning about ancient civilizations and cultures. And they were learning about West African kingdoms. And so to make the lessons more relevant, she would go on YouTube, and there's a gentleman by the name of Mr. Nicky. and he utilizes rap songs, and he has lyrics, and it's very catchy, and she plays those, and to get across the principles of this topic, such like, salt and gold and profit, to teach about trading, and it's very catchy. And then she invites all of her students to come up with their own rap songs to try and engage them. I am not a rapper. And I don't know. But so instead of the traditional reading, lecturing, and learning, she really tries to grab them and do that. And they seem to really enjoy that. So I appreciate Mrs. Gizzi allowing me to come in and visit her classroom, and looking for creative and unique ways to reach her students. So thank you.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to board committee reports. We did have a finance committee. It was the same night as a levy committee meeting. So George, could you give us a little feedback on that?
We did. We had a finance committee meeting February 11th. We had a good conversation. We followed up from our previous meeting about insurance options. So I had some homework, came back and went over some of those different options with the committee. And then we also talked about where the district's heading financially with the phase 1 cuts and the impact of the levy and what it means for phase 2 and phase 3. And our next meeting is April 29th, Monday, April 29th.
All right. Policy committee,
We did not have any meetings.
facilities committee,
Our next meeting is at the high school cafeteria. It is this coming Thursday, the 28th, and it's open to the public. So if you'd like to come in and listen, and there's plenty of seats in this high school cafeteria, so if you'd like to come in and just listen to what we do and how we do it. We talk about the brick and mortar of the school. Steve's there. We talk about what we do with every single dollar, and we squeeze every single penny. And if I could, the Strongsville Education Foundation, their annual Jockeys and Juleps is on May 4th at 6 o'clock at the Ernfeld Rec Center. It's a wonderful, wonderful event. I will be there with an ugly bow tie and a wife with a gigantic hat. But please come. It is a donation to the children, and that's exactly what you're doing. When you're buying a ticket or you're buying a table, that money goes to help support programs within our school district. And I'm very proud of the Strongsville Education Foundation because they do a lot for our school district and they do a lot for our children. So please, May 4th, like I said, I'll have the ugly bow tie on and
and the beautiful wife.
and the beautiful wife with the big giant hat.
Yes. Okay, doke.
And Mr. Naso, just so everybody knows, you can buy tickets online. If you go to strongnet.org, our website, under community, you'll see the Strongsville Education Foundation link there, and all the tickets can be purchased online. So you can buy them at any time.
Contributions are tax deductible, are they not?
I'm not sure, any donation to the foundation is tax deductible. The tickets are not tax deductible,
It
but
would be that, your whatever minus the value
Yeah.
of anything you receive would be tax deductible.
And you receive far more value than the price of the ticket, so
Yeah,
therefore
that's
you would owe more taxes.
It's a lot of fun, I'm just telling
It's
you
a
right
lot of
now.
fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Richard and I both attended the Business Advisory Council meeting. I alluded to some of that earlier. I was talking, we were trying to address that meeting to the students who may not be going off to college, and there's a certain percentage of them each year, probably, 90+% of our students go off to college, I believe is the,
yeah, it's reported by class, but typically we're a little above or around 90%. They plan to go to a technical school, 2-year college or 4-year college. The remaining go straight into the career or military.
so we were focusing on that with some business members of the business community and some of the teaching staff and counselors about how do we address the need for those 40 or 50 students who aren't going to do that. And we worked through a process to identify them, what skills and things we wanted to make sure they were taught, and trying to address a way so to make sure that these students would earn credit for the stuff, for the classes and extra and stuff they did. So it really is going to be a really unique program, and it's going to make sure that these guys are ready to go, because we have to get them ready to go at the end of their high school careers, regardless of what path they choose. Richard, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you encapsulated the meeting.
All right. Thank you for that. That gets us to item 15, the consent calendar. All items in the calendar that are, have an asterisk will be approved in a single vote. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. There are no modifications to the consent?
Mr. Naso?
Yes?
E4. I programmed or operated the scoreboard for the high school athletic stuff. So I'd appreciate if we could remove that and vote on it separately.
What, the athletic tournaments?
Correct. So, and I'll have George, the $50 you can just donate to the high school piano fund, and my children will find something else to do without $50.
Okay, we will exclude item 10E4, this item right here. Richard?
Yes, fall athletic tournaments.
Mr. Nathan, he's listed in the exhibit as a payment.
Oh, okay.
It was for the Norwayne versus Kirtland football game.
Okay.
Mr. Miko operated the scoreboard.
It was an exciting football game.
10E4. Okay,
And
so we'll
the-
adopt the calendar. We're going to exclude 10E4. We're going to vote on the consent calendar first, and then we'll come back to 10E4.
Correct.
Okay, so let's vote on the consent calendar excluding 10E4.
Who made the motion in a second?
We have, we have a Duke and Jane.
Sorry. Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
okay.
We're overboosting.
So now we're going back to 10E4, and we're going to do this on a separate vote, which I assume you're going to abstain from because you're included.
I'm just gonna vote no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'll abstain.
Okay, so can I have a motion on a vote to approve item 10E4?
So moved.
Thank you, George. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion?
Just one comment.
Yes, sir.
These funds are paid for by the Ohio Athletic Association, money that was generated for the tournament. So we were a host site for 3 games. One of them was our boys and girls soccer game. Then we hosted Bay Village and another soccer game, and then or another team. I forget who Bay Village played. It was Bay Village versus Revere. We hosted that. I think it was a regional semifinal, and then we were a host for Kirtland, Norway. So so we run the tournament and we're reimbursed back by the Ohio Athletic Association.
Okay, we actually generate revenue and we make a profit on
We
the
charge them a
tournaments, correct?
facility fee. Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, can we take a vote?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
I abstain.
And Mr. Naso.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. That's a lot of work for $50.
For the piano fund.
Oh, is that where it's gonna go?
Can
Excellent.
I get a timpani, and what's our updated total? No.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to, let's see where we're at here.
16.
That brings us 16. We're going to remove this item from the calendar for today. We're not gonna vote on this item.
Okay.
This item is impacted by some of the cuts that are on that chart. So we're going to hold it until we get a better feed on what that impact would be. So we're gonna wait. So we make sure we do the prudent thing there. With that brings us to 17, which is Board of Education Other. And I have a couple of others.
I have
anybody-
some others too.
Go ahead, Jane.
Okay. First of all, next week you can have your every night of the week booked up for you because Tuesday we have the Strongsville Historical Societies presents its annual Founders Day program at Old Town Hall. And the theme this year is Roughing It, when Strongsville was a frontier town. So if you want to hear all about what Strongsville was like back when we first began, I encourage you to attend. It's at 7 p.m. at Old Town Hall. And then on Wednesday, you can come to the State of the Schools address at the middle school at 6:30. And then we also have Driving Miss Daisy. The Strongsville Community Theater is going to be in the Little Theater March 8th through the 10th and the 15th through 17th. So if you'd like to get tickets for that, they're available at the door, or you can go to strongsvillecommunitytheater.com and get tickets for that. And then we also have the Strongsville Historical Society Fashion Show and Luncheon at Don's Pomeroy House. And tickets are $40, and if you'd like to attend that event, it can be contact Pam Hughes, and her phone number is, I will, contact me. I don't really want to put the phone number out there for everybody to like bug her at this point, but if you'd like to attend, just let me know. And that's it.
All right. The others I have, one is on, what is today? It's Thursday, so I think it was Tuesday, we had the Staff Wellness Day, which was put on by the PE group, which was incredible. I mean, we went to the middle school, or I don't know how many there's probably 40 people there at least. Huh? About 40. And we did first we started out with high intensity training for about 20 minutes, interval training. And then after that, we split into groups, and some did yoga, some did spinning class, spinning class, and then others, brutes, yes. The brutes, we hit bags, so it was a fun class.
No archery? Come on.
No, we didn't, no, they knew better. Well, maybe next time. I think they saw me, they hit all that stuff.
Awesome.
But it was so much fun, and it was really, I go to the gym probably 3 times a week. This morning I got up and I was like, oh, what was that? And I was like, my abs are like so tight from doing that. Not tight, they were sore. I wish they were tight, but it was really an incredible class. And we got so much good feedback that they're gonna do it once a week. So it's really gonna be fun. And where are we gonna get the benefit of that from the wellness program? It's gonna show up in our healthcare benefits, right? So everyone's gonna be healthier. And we even saw Ian out there. He was working it up out there. It was fun. So it was really incredible, and thank you very much for the PE group for organizing it, and I think everybody had a lot of fun. And then one last thing, I went to the College Credit Plus meeting last night. It was very well done. The only thing that was a little disturbing to me about at the meeting is that everybody made the point that it's free, right? So it is free to the students. So you can get an associate degree. I think last year we had 2 people. We had one kid got 2 associate's degrees by the time he got out of here, right? Pretty impressive. However, just so everyone knows, College Credit Plus is mandated by the state, which means we have to do it, right? So if you take a college class and you meet all the criteria, you can do it, and the student doesn't pay. We pay. The district pays. We don't get any funding from the state. The state doesn't reimburse us, but we pay for every credit hour that every student takes. Right? And I think Tri-C said that over the time period that they've had 20,000 credit hours or something. Those credit hours are all paid for by the district. And the taxpayer money comes in and it gets used for that, and we don't have a choice. It's not like we can say we're getting rid of College Credit Plus. We wouldn't do that because it's an incredible program, right? A lot of kids, they get off to school, like you said, they're sophomores. But I just wanted to be clear that it's mandated by the state, but we pay for it. And it's not free. It might be free to them, which is incredible, but the school pays for it. So.
And the textbooks.
And the textbooks. Yep. And so it just was bugging me, and I had to say it. So okay. Any others? No. Okay.
Mr. Naso?
Yes, sir.
I just felt that I feel obligated. The meeting was very stark today, but none of it is going to happen yet. I'm voting yes, and you should too. And anybody, you're gonna have lots of conversations, et cetera. I think it's important to remember a lot of times people just wanna justify their no vote. And if you're talking to that person, I suggest you look them straight in the eye and say, I'm voting yes, and then move on. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Meeting notice is March 7th, we have a board meeting here. March 21st, we have a board meeting here. May 16th, we have a board meeting at the high school. So the 16th, May 16th meeting is at the high school. We do not have a need for executive session tonight. With that, I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
George was the first, Duke was the second. Vote?
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 8:51 PM.